This series never gets any easier to read, and I've read it quite a few times through the years. And it's I think what makes this so hard for me is after the celebration of Superman coming back from the dead, new heroes arriving, and Clark seeing a new outlook on life, to see Hal dive into his own psychosis and just the tragedy that happened makes it hard for him to come back to the person that he was. It's understandable, but it doesn't make it any easier to see the man that can basically bend willpower to how he wants it to be done. One of the most revered Green Lanterns fall so low. It's all going to end here, isn't it? One way or another. Now, before we dive into what's happening, this is part 3, the future. Ron Mars writing, Daryl Banks pencils, Romero Tanghal inks, Steve Matson colors, Albert de Guzman doing the lettering, and there's everyone else working on the book. So last issue, I didn't want to spoil it, but the Guardians saw that Hal was more than a threat than they anticipated. And so in a last-ditch effort, they released Sinestro from the Central Power Battery to take on Hal Jordan. Get out of my way, Sinestro, or I will kill you. Will you now? Somehow I find that unlikely. Don't demean yourself by engaging in the charades, Jordan. Nothing ever changes. You're still a hero. One of the good guys. Not right now. See, Sinestro has been in the Central Power Battery as a prisoner up to this point. He doesn't know what's happening in Coast City. He doesn't know Hal's mindset right now. So when Hal says, not right now, look at Sinestro's face as he realizes that this is not the Jordan he knows. And he tries to play it off. My, aren't you a grim little fellow? Truthfully, I expected more from you, Jordan. Coming here armed like that, not very sporting, is it? Makes my defeat a foregone conclusion. Would you truly rather overwhelm me? And finally found out if you could take me on in an even contest. I could give a damn, Sinestro. I really could. But I don't want any doubt in your mind. I want you to know that I defeated you without any crutches. So he abandons all the rings that he's collected. And other than them just using their regular power rings, the Guardians just looking on, unemotionally, just turns into a brawl. That is all this is. Sinestro trying to trudge up everything of Hal's failures, calling him weak. You deserve worse. The Guardians must be mad to have released you. Well, who can say, really? They're such enigmatic little devils. Perhaps they thought I was the lesser of two evils. What kind of... Jordan, I think. And as this is going, this reminds me of like a movie where you see the main villains, as I always kind of look at the Guardians, just looking on, unemotional. I think it's time I told you a story. Years ago, when the Guardians brought you to me, they said, Sinestro, you of all of our greatest Lanterns are the greatest. We need you to make the Corps stronger. We need you to share their skills. Please. They said, please. Take this recruit and home him. Make him even half of what you are, and he will truly be magnificent. And I thought to myself, look at what they've given you, Sinestro. I thought, this sorry fool hasn't got what it takes. He'll never amount to anything. And you know what, Jordan? I was right. Ooh, excellent storytelling. And the artwork, just to boot. I mean, look at the reds, the greens, the blacks, and then just in between, the Guardians just looking unemotionally as they should. Though, I like how Ganthet, or one of them, just kind of gets that side eye like, is he really going to beat Sinestro? And I mean, this is what I mean, but it just turns into a bare knuckle brawl. No more tricks, no more rings, just you and me for the last time. Now, I don't want to give away the panel because it is quite harrowing, and I want you all to go read this story in its full potential. We're not finished. Oh, we're finished. All right. Both of us are finished. What are you talking about? I finally beat you. I won. Did you, Jordan? Look at yourself and answer me. And then Hal says, I should have done this a long time ago. Damn you. Needless to say, I'm not going to run it for y'all. Hal says, damn you. No one left to stop me. Power's mine for the taking. Mine so I can get everything right again. And then there's another battle between him and Kilowog. Ain't gonna happen, Hal. No matter how bad you want it. I know what it's like to lose your home, the folks you love, but it ain't no excuse for what you done. The power ain't yours, not for this, so it's gotta end. And we see the end of Kilowog, which again, you guys go read the book. And then the self-reflection. I've crossed the line, Kilowog. I can't go back. Now, I don't deserve this anymore. True 2814, you do not. You have committed heinous acts, caused irreparable damage. You will be punished. By you. You haven't taken a personal interest in anything for so long, you've forgotten how. I finally see you for what you are, you impotent shams. I just wanted to have my life again. You could have given me the power to make things right, but you self-righteous gnomes couldn't even do that much. All you were capable of was turning your back on me. To tamper with what has been is the most grievous of crimes. Don't you think I know that? And haven't you realized I'm beyond caring? It's too late. It's too late for me. Too late for you. There's no turning back now. What's going to happen is going to happen. It has to, and you can't stop it. And neither can I. And this is where we get the first appearance of Parallax as he wields the central battery to himself, single-handedly destroyed the Green Lantern Corps, leaving only one sole survivor, forging one final power ring. Were we then the architects of our own destruction, my brothers? Even this is abandoned, the symbol of all our champions. All that we were, it must become a symbol once again. Now, as we get the first appearance of Parallax, I guess you'd call the bittersweet ending here, is we get the first there's a cameo appearance of this character in issue 47, but this is the first full appearance of Kyle Rayner. And he's leaving a bar, and Ganthus shows up because you shall have to do. Right. I must need some air worse than I thought. This ring, take it. And what am I supposed to do with it? What you must. What do you mean? What's supposed to happen? What must. Now, in the middle of all this tragedy, I can't help but laugh because, again, this is 1994, so I love how he's wearing a Nine Inch Nails shirt. Hell yeah. But anyway, so this is where Kyle Rayner was bequeathed the final Green Lantern ring, and we see him in full Green Lantern gear. He goes, oh man, I think my life just got a lot more complicated. Now, from what I understand of this series, it's hard for me to read because I grew up, like I know that we've all grown up with different eras of Green Lantern. You know, for those of us that are a little bit older, we grew up with Hal Jordan. And those older than me grew up with Alan Scott. And then from probably the late 80s, early 90s to the animated series, people grew up with Jon Stewart. And then in that mix, of course, we had Guy Gardner too, which I love all of them. Don't get me wrong. But Hal was the one that I knew, from Super Friends to anything that involved Green Lantern through the 80s and 90s. So to see him fall like this hurts. Still hurts me to this day, even though he does come back in Green Lantern Rebirth, which we will eventually go over. But to just see the fallout of what happened during the reign of Superman and the destruction of Coast City and seeing how much of a toll it took on our hero hurts. And I'm glad that the story was dramatic and impactful, because from what I understand behind the scenes, they said that Hal was starting to lose, a fan base, and so they had to find a way to revive it, hence why they introduced Kyle Rayner, which, as much as I hate this happens, I'm glad they did, because we got Kyle Rayner too, and he is definitely one of the most awesome Green Lanterns as well, because when he became, he used, I think, the last of his ion power is how he was able to bring Hal's body back from the sun. Whole nother discussion. If you guys have enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop or wherever it is like to get your action figures and comics, and get this series, because this is another one of those pivotal times. Death of Superman, Nightfall, this, and then I can't remember the arc, but Peter David's Aquaman, when basically Arthur loses his hand. That's another one that I eventually need to hunt down. So if you guys know the reading order of that, let me know down in the description. Speaking of, if you've enjoyed this review, really would appreciate if you take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little Parallax bell next, subscribe. That way, as I continue to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel. Love talk with y'all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments below, or the socials, which I'll make sure they have the links down in the description. So with all that said, hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, everyone.